Do you want to raise a child in the middle of an apocalypse? Me too. God Eater 3 is an action monster hunting game developed by Marvelous, replacing Shift, and published by Bandai Namco Entertainment in 2019 in North America. God Eater has a special place in my heart, being the first series in the monster hunting genre that I actually got into. I enjoyed the first God Eater quite a bit, at least the remake. The second one I have mixed feelings about, but the story was much more entertaining. After the ending of God Eater 2 Rage Burst, I have no idea where they're gonna go next, so I was excited for this game. I remember enjoying it, but that was years ago. Now that I have the elitist mind of game reviewing, I can look at this semi-critically and not be distracted by the boobies. Let's go in. The game looks good. It's definitely an improvement from God Eater 2. It's got that sharp anime look. The character models aren't blocky anymore and it looks very stylish. I mean, just look at this map. They made the combat look a lot more flashy too. It's full of effects as you swing and downward thrust your way through every origami. It's quite the spectacle, perfect for children with ADHD. All that doesn't come without some problems though. The animations and cutscenes look kinda floaty and too exaggerated for my liking, with the character acting I mean. It just looks really cartoony at times. I know it's an anime, but it doesn't have to look that cheesy. The previous games had this issue too, but I let them slide because they're remasters of handheld games. But God Eater 3 is a new next-gen game, so improvements are to be expected, and we didn't get them here unfortunately. The music still drowns out the dialogue sometimes, and even though the audio levels can be adjusted this time, it didn't balance out after I changed them. This is just a nitpick from me, but there's a severe lack of cool clothing in red. They did my favorite color dirty in this game. There's a bunch of cool red drip in the last two games, so what happened? I had to cosplay as Mrs. Santa Claus for most of the game. Please add a color slider next time. I know it'll take some work, but it's better than just having 4 colors per outfit. Well, at least they added the option to have Japanese voice acting this time. The gameplay is mostly the same as the previous games. You go on missions, fight big monsters, collect materials, and upgrade your equipment just to do it all over again. You can still upgrade your teammates, add skills to your equipment, and make them more effective, and customize your bullets. A new addition, but not really, to the combat is burst arts. It's basically blood arts from God Eater 2, which are special moves you can use to make one of your attacks more powerful. Except you can have 3 of them now, and you have to be in burst mode to use them. Also, you can modify them to shoot out an attack after the end of a burst art, making them even more powerful. There's also something called Engage, which gives you extra buffs when the meter is full when you activate it on a teammate. Moving around the map can be a drag in previous games since some of the maps are big and your movement speed is slow. Now you have this shield dash jump that propels Uranus forward and it's fun as hell. It sure makes moving around much easier and it does damage. All of these additions make you feel powerful and the game faster paced and more chaotic. Maybe too much so. These changes made the combat more mindless and way less strategic. I never felt like I was in any real danger. It's always faster to just brute force your way through an origami and take the hits instead of learning their patterns and dodging like in the previous games. Healing is not something you need to worry about either. There's a teammate who can heal you over time when in Engage, and I almost never used any healing items because there are these health fountains everywhere. Just stand there with your shield up and wait until you're all filled up, and if the fountain's not working, go to another one close by. Unless it's a gangbang of 2 or more origami, shit's smooth sailing. Not even the new, more threatening Ashborns are much of a problem, and they can devour you and go into burst mode themselves and has insta-kill moves. Just shield dash your ass out of there before they hit you. The lack of difficulty and challenge made this game feel more like a hack and slash than a monster hunting game. Despite these issues, it's still a fun game. There's a lot of side content, more than just optional missions. You can now upgrade any teammate's skills to the max level as long as you have the points, so it's not gated by story progress anymore. And the combat feels so smooth that it's kinda hard to go back to the previous games after playing this. Just don't expect a challenging experience until you're in the late game, which can be reached in about 12 to 20 hours. This feels like a God Eater game for beginners, so if you're new, this is a good start for the series, and the story can be played on its own without knowledge of the previous games too, so it has that going for it. Time for story. If you don't want to know how it flies, then skip to this timestamp. You'll miss all the titties though, so that's your warning. Like the previous games, the story tends to go all over the place, so I'll be spewing shit as they come up. God Eater 3 takes place years after the events of God Eater 2 in the European side of the world, I think. This part of the world is fucked, but in different ways. There are these ash storms that come and go along with the new Ashborn origami. The people in this region is separated into ports. You play as an adaptive God Eater, or Aegis, which is a new and more powerful type of God Eater than even the Blood unit, and can survive in ash-ridden environments. You are from the Pennywort port, and you're treated like dog shit. Why do people hate Aegis? We'll find out later. In the port, which looks like a prison, we meet some main characters. Hugo, the serious but not too much leader type guy who's been with you since your arrival, so he's also a childhood friend. And Zeke, he's the fun one. In the beginning, you just do some simple missions, learning about what's happening, and there's a kid dying from a cough that never seems to go away. Everything changes when a big origami attacks your crew while on a mission, and an ash storm rolls by, destroying your port. Luckily, a caravan from another port comes to the rescue, and your crew joins them for the time being. They had the decency to save the kids in a port too, so that's nice. The caravan is led by Hilda! Mi amor, give me some fuck, give me some pussy. This caravan is led by Hilda Henriquez, who's a part of the Chrysanthemum port, where it's all nice and happy, unlike prison. Oh, and there's Amy too, I guess. She's the one and only operator in the game. On the Ash Crawler Chrysanthemum, we meet another teammate, the nice one of the group, Claire. She's from the Gleipnir port and is a part of a noble family. Her father was a well-known military person, but he died, and now she wants to take his place. After one of the missions, we see a girl on the ground. The crew tries to help her, but she took Zeke hostage. Her name is Lulu, an age from the Baron port, and she wants to talk to Hilda and find out why she was stranded at her location. Hilda had Amy ask Baron about Lulu, but couldn't find any info, so it's assumed that she was abandoned. With nowhere to go, Hilda decides to take Lulu in because she's a queen like that. Later, an Ashborn attacks the Ash Crawler, destroying the cargo area that Claire was guarding, revealing what's inside. It's a humanoid origami, similar to Shio from the first game. Claire named her Phym, and not gonna lie, she's the driving force for me to finish the story. She's one of the few kid characters that I actually like in a video game. She can enter combat with you, unlike Shio, who's only there for like a few missions, and she even follows you around the base, which is neat. Dollars kawaii. Every time I felt worn out or tired, I think of Phym and all my worries go away. I live for Phym. I fight for Phym. Hilda's job was to transport Phym to Gleipnir with Claire guarding her. Apparently, she's the weapon that will save humanity. She can probably do some crazy shit like Shio, but we won't know until later. Next, we visit Hilda's port. It's all nice with plants and shit, and the kids are actually happy and not dying of a cough. After seeing how nice this place is, Hugo wants to transfer to the Chrysanthemum port because he wants to be free and not treated like trash, but first they have to prove their worth. The crew gathered enough info about the Ashlands and made a deal with the Pennywort port to transfer over to Hilda's, and life is starting to look a bit better. At the end of a mission, a big dude shows up to help you, and specifically says that he helps young Aegis. Hilda radios you, and Phym calls out her name, prompting the guy to leave. Is he Hilda's ex or something? I need to know. Next, there's word about reclaiming the old Fenrir HQ, which is overtaken by origami, and there's going to be a gathering of all the ports to plan out an attack. Out of nowhere, some guys from Gleipnir, led by this asshole with no eyebrows, shows up to take Phym back early. Even though this was their job, the crew doesn't feel right and worries that they might do some weird shit to her and decides to get Phym back. Claire wants to help, but Hugo decides that it would harm her reputation with her own port, so she was left out. But she comes back later though. So the gang pulls some heist type shit, luring an Ashborn into the holding facility, play it off like they're just trying to take it down, got Phym out, and take credit for killing. Two birds with one stone, what can I say? Upon finding Phym, she has a device attached to her neck that was made in Baron, the port Lulu's from. Are they evil? We then go to Gleipnir HQ and get sent to the firing squad because adults are evil. Luckily, before that happens, the head of Gleipnir, Gadolin, is here to propose a deal. Since we have the skills to take down Ashborns, continue to kill them, and relive. During a mission, the No Eyebrows guy calls to talk some shit and reveals that he's working with the Crimson Queen, a group of rebels composed of ages that are tired of how society treats them, and is using something to manipulate the ash storms, so the crew is tasked to investigate them, alongside helping Gleipnir retake Fenrir HQ. We report the No Eyebrows man to Gleipnir and he gets to drop the soap. Later, we find out that the leader is a guy named Werner. He's Galen's son and also Hilda's ex. He's also that big guy that you met at the end of that mission. They fucked, I knew it! On an unrelated note, Ein, makes an appearance. He's apparently here for info about the Ashlands and paid $2 billion for what the crew discovered, like directions and shit, so that's cool. Before the reclamation begins, the ports all gather for a conference. There we meet Lulu's old superiors from Baron, who are totally not evil at all. The big guy wants Lulu to hand Phym over, but of course she declines and the guy threatens to do some shit. Turns out that they're working for the Crimson Queen as well? I don't know, shit gets kinda murky around here. Anyway, the reclamation begins, and in one of the missions, the Baron guys comes to fuck. The fat guy tells the tall guy to kill Lulu, so they fight for a bit. Unhappy of the results, Fat Man ordered missiles to shoot at them, but Tall Man blocks them. Before he can shoot again, the gang stop whoever was launching the missiles and Fat Man gets arrested. Next, we head to where the Crimson Queen is. You talk to Warner and he invites you to join them, but you refuse since you don't like the way they do things. The way of getting back at the people who wronged them is with ash storms. You see, ash storms are created by sacrificing an age, and it can be done by using a certain device. It's not explicitly told, but it's assumed the reason why a lot of people hate ages is due to their ability to cause ash storms, and some shit related to what happened in the past. Even though you refuse to join Werner, he doesn't take offense to it and leaves it up to you. One of the members of the Crimson Queen is Neo, Zeke's brother who he thought was missing. Yeah, he just shows up. He doesn't have any significance to the story until later. So the crew moves on, kill the big bad Ashborn, and takes back Fenrir HQ. Everyone laughs, they drink some tea, and they all lived happily ever, or do they? After Gleipnir settles down in the Fenrir HQ, they start conscripting all the ages to help power these huge Evangelion looking things called Odin. The Odin project is made to stop ash storms, and they take a lot of resonance power from ages to work, and yes, they die after they've been used. So obviously all the ages are pissed and start rioting. Even Hilda's not giving the crew up. Also, Werner declares war. With all the shit happening, Zeke has a mental breakdown and doesn't know what life is anymore. On one hand, he wants to help with the ash storm situation, but on the other, his brother is with the rebels fucking shit up. In his moment of weakness, Phym tells him the answer to his problems. Just do what you want. And he's like, yeah! Hilda asks Ein to contact the Crimson Queen so she can talk to Werner. They meet and try to make a compromise and stop the fighting, but Werner tells it like it is. The only way to stop the war is to give Gleipnir Phym. Phym has way more power than the average age, 1,000 times or more. If she can replace all the ages and power Odin by herself, then no one else has to die. Only she has to. No one wants to make the decision of sacrificing a child for the greater good even if she is origami, so she chose for us. Confused by Werner's words, Phym did some research on the terminal and discovers that she's an humanoid origami. I mean, it's kinda obvious, but she a kid, so don't worry about it. And she calls Gleipnir for a ride and they pick her up to go to Fenrir HQ. Who taught her literacy? Now she's gonna die. Meanwhile, Werner is fighting with some soldiers and he gets cornered hard. As a final finishing move, he activates himself and an ash storm tempest starts fucking shit up. The gang goes to Fenrir HQ to stop Phym, but it's too late. She's already out in the field. The tempest comes near the HQ and Phym is there at the front line to stop the first wave. God and Man plays and it's all emotional and shit, but she goes out of control and you have to fight your daughter as the final fight of the game. Fuck. At the end of the fight, you engage with Phym and she comes out of the Odin like she's being birthed. She's not dead for some reason, don't worry about it. Then Phym engages with everyone and gives them visions and all the origami stops attacking. What is happening? Anyway, they lived happily ever after the end. I'm kinda mixed on the story. I was on board at the beginning. The great morality of the story where there's no main villain and each side, Crimson Queen and everyone else, is just doing their best with the circumstances. And Phym is so lovable. The main problem I have is just the lack of character development. It's very surface level stuff, like they didn't even attempt to do it. The first two games are masterpieces when compared to this game in that department, and they didn't even do it that well. Why was Lulu abandoned? What's Zeke's story with his brother? What happened to Soma between the two games? Why the huge time gap between the games? None of these get answered. I don't remember them mentioning these anyway. They don't need to be answered, but it would certainly help the players connect with them more and make them interesting. This was kinda solved by the DLCs. Well, not exactly DLCs, they come in the form of free updates, but I'll call them DLCs anyway. The ending was a cop-out. It's been built up to let Phym sacrifice herself for the good of humanity, but the devs weren't bold enough to kill a girl. Stranding a girl on the moon, isolating her for what could be an eternity? Hell yeah! Have a girl sacrifice herself to save her friends and family? Nah bruh, that's fucked. This could have been so impactful, but I guess there's a rule about not killing cute girls. After the release of the game, the devs kept updating it with some free DLCs, and they add to the story, which is rare these days. The first free DLC is Another Devil. Keith, Zeke's other brother, an engineer, and Ein wants you to help make car armor to protect the Ash Crawler, and it's a kind of technology that can benefit everyone. Neil is also there since the Crimson Queen is no more. You go around collecting parts for the project, and you can bring Neil and Ein, so that's two more teammates you can bring on missions, which is neat. This DLC also serves as Neil's story arc. Like young Soma, Neil prefers to work alone because his teammates always end up dying. With the Crimson Queen taken down, this didn't help with his point of view, leaving his hope for a better future for ages in the dust. In the Ashcrawler Chrysanthemum, Neil discovers that the dream isn't dead and is being carried on by his brothers and their friends. He learns that even though there won't be sacrifices, the dream is worth it. So overall, it kind of feel good story, not bad, but not amazing either. Traversing the Past is the second free DLC, and it's where all the character development went. So Keith discovers this new thing called Core Engage, which, you guessed it, it's a more powerful version of Engage. To activate Core Engage with a teammate, you have to fill this Engage bar by going on missions with them, which can take a while. The first teammate to get the Core Engage treatment is Claire. As the bar fills, you have to go into her mind and traverse her past. In there, you get a narration pretty much of what happens in a character's past and fight some mobs. It's not told in the most engaging of ways. You just stand there and listen. It's more like an audio drama than anything. I didn't play all the characters since I think it's quite the grind, like at least an hour to fill a character's sync meter. This is the type of content you do if you enjoy the gameplay and want to keep playing, doing all the in-game optional missions and all that, because if you're in it for the story, it'll take a while to get that payoff. I wish this was implemented into the main story instead of being a separate DLC. The characters get the most basic of development in the main story, and now it's here in this separate thing that takes place after the ending. Most of my shits have been given. This definitely feels like the result of being rushed during development, like they didn't have enough time to put this in and just took it all out and release it as a free update. Overall, not the best way to present the story, but at least it's here in some form, I guess. Oh, and Soma's dying. God Eater 3 is alright. The graphics are good, it has that sharp anime look, and everything from the UI to combat looks flashy, though the 3D animated cutscenes look a bit cheesy. The combat is not as challenging as the last two games, but it feels so much better to play that I don't want to go back to the old games. The great morality of the story and theme are a plus, but the lack of any major character development made it forgettable for me. They really need a remastered version where they include all the free DLCs into the main story and make it more interesting to play through. The character episodes are a drag to get through, but its contents are too important for the game to leave out. I want to like this game more than I did, but life sucks. Also, the opening theme intro is pretty good. In fact, all the God Eater openings are good. I didn't want to talk about it too much since I got copyright striked from my God Eater 2 review for playing the intro, and I had to re-render the whole video. I don't want to deal with that shit again, even if I'm not monetized, so yeah. This was a fun game. I wish the quality was more consistent between games. There's always a step backwards. Seems like we can't ever avoid that. Anyway, let me know what you think about the game or video. Remember to leave a like, subscribe, and kiss my cheeks. See you next time, whenever that is. Bye.